When the opening riff of Smells Like Teen Spirit crashes through the speakers, it doesn't just signal the start of an album, it signals a shift, a cultural tremor, a guitar tone that would become the calling card of a generation. Released in September of 1991, Nirvana's Nevermind is an album that transcends time, but at its core it remains a lean, angry, and unexpectedly melodic masterpiece. And it begins not with subtlety, but with fire. Smells Like Teen Spirit is a track that almost needs no introduction. It has become mythologized, dissected, and reinterpreted endlessly. But strip away the legacy and what remains is a masterclass in explosive dynamics and tension. Kurt Cobain's guitar turns in a riff that's both primal and hypnotic, while Dave Grohl's drumming hits like cannon fire. Krist Novoselic anchors it all with that deceptively simple bass line. And then Cobain's voice, ragged, disillusioned, furious, rips through the track, lacing the chantable chorus with just enough apathy to make it iconic. It is not just a great rock song, it is the sound of frustration given melody. Then comes In Bloom, a track that tempers some of that raw angst with a bittersweet irony. The guitars ring cleaner here, the melodies sharper, even beatless at times. Cobain sneers at the people who sing along without understanding, the poseurs who consume rebellion as fashion. And yet, the irony is wrapped in one of the catchiest choruses on the album. There's tension here between contempt and accessibility, a push-pull that would define much of Nirvana's output. The juxtaposition of lyrical disdain and musical warmth creates a uniquely potent blend. Come As You Are slides into the mix with a watery, chorus-drenched guitar riff that feels almost narcotic. There is a dreamy, underwater quality to the sound, with Cobain inviting you in with a false sense of calm. His voice here is quieter, more reserved, almost seductively weary. And yet, behind the invitation lies contradiction. The lyrics are paradoxes, statements that negate themselves. It is both a welcome and a warning. The track feels like a pause, a lull in the storm, but the darkness is still very much present, lingering just beneath the surface. And then the album slams into Breed, a frenetic, galloping juggernaut of a song. It's reckless and raw, a burst of pure adrenaline. Grohl's drumming is absolutely ferocious, all toms and crash cymbals like a bar fight with a backbeat. Cobain's vocal is unhinged, sneering and barked with punk intensity. The lyrics are a fever dream of disaffection and resignation, but it's the sheer momentum of the song that makes it unforgettable. It barrels forward with zero intention of looking back. Lithium arrives next and delivers one of the most emotionally complex moments on the record. Built on soft loud dynamics, the track mirrors its lyrical content, the internal struggle between faith and emptiness, between peace and chaos. The verses are almost lullabies, with Cobain gently murmuring about finding religion, only for the choruses to explode in cathartic howls of yeah. The simplicity of the chord progression masks the depth of feeling underneath. It's a song about mental equilibrium, or the desperate search for it, and as it swings between emotional poles, it becomes a strangely uplifting anthem for the lost. Polly strips everything back. It's the quietest song on the record, just acoustic guitar, voice, and subtle bass. But don't let the gentle arrangement fool you. The lyrics tell a chilling, real-life-inspired story of abduction and survival, with Cobain singing from the perspective of the perpetrator. It's haunting, unnerving, and deeply affecting. There's a bravery in its restraint, in its refusal to sensationalize horror. Instead, it forces you to sit with it, to reckon with the darkness and stark silence. Territorial Pissings detonates any sense of comfort built up by Polly. It opens with a sarcastic snippet of the Youngbloods' hippie anthem, Get Together, sung off-key before collapsing into a full-blown punk assault. This is Nirvana at their most chaotic and confrontational. The guitars are jagged, the tempo frantic, and Cobain's voice pushed into an unrelenting scream. The lyrics, barely decipherable, are spat out in a frenzy. It is a necessary jolt, a reminder that under all the polish of Nevermind lies a band still deeply rooted in punk. Drain You begins deceptively, with an almost sweet verse melody before descending into a cacophony of feedback, sound effects, and thick distortion. Lyrically, it's grotesquely romantic, comparing emotional dependence to infection and decay. And yet, it's strangely beautiful. The instrumental breakdown in the middle, where guitars and squeals swirl around like debris in a storm, is one of the most inspired moments on the album. It walks a fine line between melody and noise, between affection and repulsion. Lounge Act is a hidden gem, often overlooked in the shadow of bigger tracks. It starts with a bouncy, almost funky bass line from Novoselic, which quickly gives way to driving guitar chords. Cobain's vocal performance is among his most nuanced here, shifting between sardonic distance and passionate vulnerability. The lyrics deal in jealousy and emotional betrayal, but it never wallows. Instead, the song climbs, its intensity building until it nearly combusts. Then there's Stay Away, a track that barrels forward with punk venom. The lyrics are a caustic rejection of conformity, laced with absurdity and sarcasm. Musically, it's one of the most aggressive songs on the album, a flurry of distortion and hammering drums. And yet, within the noise, there is precision. The transitions are tight, the energy controlled. It feels like a controlled demolition, wild but never sloppy. On a Plane follows, offering a slight breather but still tinged with existential unease. It's built around a chiming guitar riff and one of Cobain's most straightforwardly catchy vocal melodies. There's a sense of self-awareness in the lyrics, as if Cobain is stepping back and commenting on his own contradictions. Lines like, "I love myself better than you, I know it's wrong, so what should I do?" speak to the album's central themes of disconnection and identity crisis. It's a strange sort of confession wrapped in power chords. The penultimate track, Something in the Way, is perhaps the emotional nadir of the album. It is skeletal and raw, featuring Cobain's voice barely above a whisper, accompanied by droning cello and sparse guitar. It captures a desolate mood with painful clarity. The lyrics depict life under a bridge, both literally and metaphorically. It's about alienation so profound it becomes stillness. There is beauty here, but it's the beauty of decay, of resignation. As the track fades, it feels like the end of something. But then there's a hidden track, Endless, Nameless, a blast of chaotic noise rock that erupts after several minutes of silence on the original CD. It's a stark contrast to the restraint of Something in the Way. Cobain's guitar is mangled, Grohl's drumming unhinged, and the vocals are pure primal shrieks. It is less a song and more an exorcism, and it's the perfect capstone to an album that spends its time carefully walking the line between melody and madness before throwing that line to the wind. What makes Nevermind such an enduring masterpiece is not just its raw power, nor its historical importance. It is the way the album channels conflicting emotions into something cohesive. Each song, while distinct in mood and style, contributes to a larger tapestry. There is rage, there is beauty, there is irony and honesty. Nirvana took the alienation and apathy of their generation and shaped it into music that still resonates decades later. Cobain's songwriting, for all its rawness, is incredibly meticulous. The way the songs build, collapse, and rebuild is not accidental. There is intention in the chaos. Producer Butch Vig deserves credit for helping shape the sound without sanding down the edges. The mix is sharp, but never overproduced. You can feel the sweat in the room, the scratch of guitar strings, the rattle of drums. It's alive, and that's ultimately what Nevermind is. Not a monument or a museum piece, but a living, breathing document of three musicians capturing lightning in a bottle. Even as time continues to pass and musical trends evolve, Nevermind remains vital. It's not just nostalgia. It's not just a moment in history. It's a collection of songs that speak to the uncertainty, the anger, and the strange joy of being alive in a broken world. And at its heart is a band that, for a brief and brilliant moment, rewrote the language of rock music with little more than distortion, melody, and the unfiltered truth of how it feels to be lost.